Hey Toby, what do you want to do today?
Exactly the same as every day, Bibi. We will conquer the world.
But we already did that yesterday, didn't we?
Really? Then, well, what about talking about creativity? Cars can't fly? We show you that with creativity, everything is possible and that this wonderful ability is in every single one of us.
Listen now and learn more about your personal creative ability and its importance for you, for organizations, and for society.
The breakdance Bibi is in the house.
Hey, I love your moves. Toby, I didn't know you can do that with your legs.
Me neither.
I hope you do not break them somehow after this breakdance
That's the
show.
thing. I mean, breakdancing. Yeah, it's actually my first time today.
First time?
Are you I mean, you're a professional dancer actually, so.
I wouldn't really call it professional, but I love dancing. But I've never really tried breakdancing, to be honest, because I think I would rather break more of my bones than really doing a good breakdance.
And we met someone who did breakdancing in his childhood, actually, I guess, right? And we had a nice discussion about what this breakdancing has kind of an impact on creativity in his life and how that unfolded into like becoming a innovation professional.
Yeah, and he is really experienced in the area of logistics. He was actually doing it all his life.
Basically.
And yeah, you will find out what influence breakdance maybe brought into that area of life. And
Basically, we talked about what we are always talking about. So don't get bored, but it's all about creativity, innovation, and in this case, in the logistics supply chain field. But I think that's enough about that. Just enjoy.
Hi, this is Dini, the voice from the off. Before you start the podcast, I just wanted to apologize. Unfortunately, the quality is not as good as we hoped, but the content is so good that we didn't want to keep it from you. So have fun with it, and the next episodes will be in better quality again, we promise.
So, hello, all you lovely people out there. Here we are again with a new pod guest for whom we don't have a nickname this time. Our guest is a man, 42 years young, and yet he keeps catching himself thinking of people in their early 20s as the same age. That sounds like someone we love to talk to because we also feel like we were still kids sometimes, and that also makes a lot of sense for many reasons. Speaking of 20-somethings, our guest has been with DB Schenker, one of the world's leading global logistics providers, for more than 22 years in a variety of positions. Essentially, it has always been about generating new knowledge for the organization and bringing that knowledge to the right colleagues in a simple and pragmatic way. In other words, actually picking up on topics that previously didn't fit in anywhere else. Actually, just like the white thing on the tangerine. From our point of view, that doesn't fit in anywhere either. Logistics has accompanied our guest from day one because he grew up in a logistics family, and in his childhood he normally spent his weekends reloading, scheduling, and screwing on vehicles. Well, after many years in diverse positions, he found his way into the innovation environment. In 2011, he built up the innovation area for DB Schenker, and since 2016, he has been responsible for this globally. Since then, he has been hungry. Very, very hungry. But not only for food, maybe sometimes, I'm sure about that, but hungry for innovation. This is at least what he is saying. And we are curious to hear today how he is satisfying that feeling. And what we also think is that innovation also involves the exploration of new things and possibilities, and this is also what he does in his private life. He was already skydiving, breakdancing, or ski jumping for some years. That's so cool. Maybe we could relive some of that. We will see. Now, finally, we end up this intro with a quite provoking hypothesis. Actually, we really like this fact because I think maybe we should make this a ritual for our intros. Toby, we should talk about that. So, the provoking hypothesis is since our podcast grew up in the East, he would say that diversity can also be an East West topic. Someone who grew up in the East were given a different form of creativity and improvisation in their cradle. That's actually inevitable. We leave that for now and would also love to hear your comments about that, dear listeners. Now, hearing all of this makes us hungry for more and especially hungry for creativity. So please join us in welcoming the incredibly creative Erik Wirsing, Vice President Global Innovation at DB Schenker, to our Talking Creativity podcast. Dear Erik, happy to have you here. Welcome to our podcast.
Wow. I think that was the longest and most detailed introduction ever that I got. So many thanks already for that.
It takes us always like 3 weeks to prepare that, actually. So
Yes.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of effort.
But do you see yourself in that description? Is that correct? Do you like have anything to add or to correct?
Absolutely. Everything correct. Besides that, I'm already now 23 years already of the company, so the time is flew.
23.
So did you prepare a breakdance
I'm really impressed by that.
I've done that quite extensively when I was younger. I also have done judo, so this sport activity there. And combining judo and breakdance was quite, I would say, sometimes fun, because we can exercise when we had our training with the judo, and then using the same skills then with salto and everything, crazy things then on the dance floor. That was quite impressive. But I stopped the breakdancing and I broke my leg with that. That was then, let's say, the final stage.
Okay, that was the reason why you stopped, because I actually wanted to ask you why did you stop it?
But funny enough, I have 2 kids, 6 and 9, and my kids are now doing hip hop since some years already. So it's, let's say, it's swapped over to my kids now.
Nice.
But it's quite interesting that there is a connection between judo and breakdancing. Actually, I didn't really think about that.
It's all about enjoying exercising on the ground. And when you have some, let's say, exercises with some colleagues and some friends there, you can really train crazy things. And when it comes to salto and backflips and whatever, and spagat, and so it's similar activities.
But isn't breakdance not also like kind of connected to creativity? Because those breakdance battles I've seen, because I'm not like into breakdancing, I have no idea about how that works, but I've seen that in like those Hollywood movies and stuff where you see those battles like happening, and it sounds, or it looks at least to me, like a lot of creativity, and it's not kind of planned, like you execute on a planned choreography, but it's more or less like improvisation. Isn't it like that? Or
it is a lot of improvisation. So I've not done these kind of battles on the dance floor, but it was more or less we are building a circle and somebody was jumping into the circle, and then, let's see what the music is bringing up. And the improvisation and creativity is absolutely, dancing is a part of that. And nice. Also to motivate the audience, and the audience is always different. So creativity is a part of that. And I really enjoy that. And today, together with my kids and my wife, it's a big fun, and still it is. But my kids still know when Ice Ice Baby is playing the radio, say, that was the song where Papa broke his leg.
Okay, nice.
Crazy. But if we would ask you now if you could do like something like a backflip or anything, could you do it?
No.
No?
No, not really. I really lost that kind of capabilities, So I'd say some steps are still possible, but all the crazy stuff, it's... when you don't exercise it for a longer time, then you will really use that.
Rather watching the kids then.
Absolutely, it's a great fun. They are really traveling around and having some presentations on some stages, and because her trainer is a world champion in hip hop, so in street dance, and that's really cool to really see how great effort they are spending, and they really love and enjoy it.
That's also already like a very good insight into your life and how you executed on your creative muscle, so to speak, already in your younger age when you did breakdancing. And I think that leads us perfectly to our very first and most important question we always ask our podcast, right, Bibi?
That's completely right. because we would like to know you a bit more personally, or get to know you a bit more personally in terms of your creativity. So our first question, which we ask every podcast, is what do you think, what is creativity for you? What does it mean for you? How would you define it?
I think it's a big word, and as you know, I'm responsible for innovation. Innovation is also a big word, and to explain exactly what is it all about and what is your interpretation of that is always a little bit crazy and strange and maybe different. But creativity for me is really thinking outside of the box, being curious, trying to be really hungry for new developments, new technologies, and really trying to find new ways of working, new ways of operating, new ways of listening, and also sometimes a pragmatic style to go forward. Because for this, let's say today, sometimes we call it agile, but for me, it's also, creativity is, creativity. What is it all about? An easy explanation, I think, is not existing so far, but
true that.
It's really finding new ways and maybe different ways than somebody has done before. That's maybe creativity, and maybe also combining new things in a different style and a different way.
Would you call yourself creative?
I would say yes. I would say yes, but also somehow pragmatic. That's sometimes it goes hand in hand, because and I'm always telling also my colleagues that I always love to hire people who are sometimes a little bit lazy but intelligent, because they find creative ways to optimize their workload. And
as fast and easy as possible, right?
Exactly. And I really like that, because when you want to do something better, you need different ways than somebody has done before. And therefore, creativity is all about finding new ways. And I am a person who loves to find new ways. Because when you think about innovation, everything that's popping up on my desk was never there before. And it's always on us to find ways, opportunities, and also to find out, is that something that's interesting for us, relevant? Is that a threat? Is it an opportunity? And to bring that in the right way, the right speed, the right wordings to our colleagues or to our customers, I think therefore you have to be somehow creative.
Yeah, true. But isn't that kind of contradictory to what's typically happening in a big corporation like the one you are in? Isn't that sometimes hard to find pragmatic new ways? Because there are people saying, hey, that's the way how we did it always, so why should we change that? Isn't that something, or at least a big challenge every day in your job?
It is indeed, and that's exactly the moment when creativity, let's say, knocks on the door. We have to find exactly then the way, because as you said, in a big corporate, and we with 78,000 people in 130 countries, you can imagine a lot of governance, a lot of structures, a lot of, let's say, behaviors of different people, and maybe even board members. And to involve them into new way of thinking, new way of working, and to look into the future, think about scenario, what might be the next thing. There's an option A, B, C, D, whatever. And then to really make them, let's say, to get their buy-in into a new topic. That is, I think then you need a lot of creativity here to bring that really to life. And to, in the first step, getting their buy-in.
Yeah. And I think frustration is also a big thing along with that, right? So meeting people like not liking your new idea because that's not the way they used to do things. So how do you cope with this? Probably, or correct me if I'm wrong, but how do you cope with this frustration along the way when you try to do something new? You're convinced that this is the best option to go forward with, but there are people like trying to get back to how things went in the past and how they used to do things. Because that's something I realize very often in my daily life, that it's a lot about frustration. I think there's kind of a threshold of frustration you're able to cope with, but at some point it's kind of really exhausting, right? I don't know, what's your perspective on that?
It is a point, and it's something that you have to deal quite often, and we have to deal quite often with. But nevertheless, I think there's also not black and white, because sometimes you have to bring board members or your stakeholders as fast as possible into the loop when you're trying to develop something new, and to get directly their buy-in or their stop. Because the worst case that could happen is when you're working over weeks and months and 8 years maybe on a topic, and in the end, for the final go live, then somebody says, no, that doesn't fit to our current environment. Please don't do that any longer. Then you're completely frustrated. But when you're starting to involve the right stakeholders directly in the beginning and getting their buy-in to just invest somehow time and resources to find out is there even more in it for us or not, then it helps directly from the beginning to get their motivation to be a part of that story. Or the other way around, what we also have done several times, not every day, because then I would be also in big trouble, is even when the board member don't believe in the story, but you and your team are believing, maybe the customers believing in that story, that topic, technology, startup, whatever, and everybody is convinced beside the board, then maybe spend some small time to really show the board that first opinion of the board might be not the right one. So, and that is something when you have enough people behind you, you all believe that makes sense. And let's do that because there is a big value for our organization or for the customers. Then let's really test it out, find some more meat on the bone, because sometimes our board members, and they only have, let's say, short time period to decide on the new thing. And if you're talking to them maybe in a crazy mood or on a different day, then they might stop things that you have prepared over a long time. So fast buy-in, one thing, but also sometimes trust yourself and your team that is the right story, and then take it further and then go back to the board.
Maybe here also creativity kicks in, right? Because you have to find new ways to convince the management to go forward with an idea. And maybe you have to think in completely new directions and get creative. Okay, what other options are there? Maybe what other options are there to convince the management? So also creativity would maybe be a good option to further investigate.
And I think you really need a good stakeholder management here, because even board members or your vice presidents or senior vice presidents, whatever kind of hierarchies do you have in your organization. So the people who has to sign on in the end for your budget, they are also different. And some people, they need very long abstracts, definitions, explanations. Some other needs crazy pictures. Maybe some would love to get a small podcast or a small movie. So it's all about trying to understand what is driving them and how they want to listen and react on things. And therefore, people are different, stories are different, and it's really finding the right words and the right approach for the right people and also for the right customers, because there's also not one fits all topic for all customers. So it's really listen to your stakeholders and trying to find the right way how to attract them for a new topic.
Interesting. What is really exciting is that you have been with DB Schenker quite a long time already, and you actually built up the innovation department. So from the year 2011 on. So what I'm really curious about is, how do you see the development of it? Do you see a kind of change in mindset? Was it harder at the beginning somehow to convince the people to be more open, to go new ways, or is it easier now? Or do you see any kind of special development or some big learnings you take away today into the future?
I think there are big changes over the last year. So when we started in 2011, that was driven by a customer survey that we have done, because our customers, they told us that, yeah, Schenker, you're a great, fantastic, stable logistic company. You know exactly what you're doing, but innovative or innovation, that's with the others. So there are some other crazy logistic companies out there. They have innovation towers. They have great departments, whatever, but you more traditional. So, okay, maybe we really have to change the mindset of our customers as well, and showing them that, no, we really want to be there even the next 100 years to come. So we are now celebrating already 150 years at Schenker. So, and for the next 100 years to come, we still want to be there. And that was the moment when we set it up an innovation department. And that time it was more driven by trends, foresight topics, a little bit of startup. So more or less a market screening, what's going on, and always trying to understand, okay, there's a new trend, there's a new startup, there's a new opportunity, how to bring that in. And we also started in this time already to listen to the customer. What kind of expectation does the customer have? Mm-hmm. But it was in the first time more wider approach, more midterm, long-term focus. What might be tomorrow and the day after may be interesting. And over the time, we also developed a kind of an open innovation approach. That was something because we can't do all the innovation activities only by ourselves. So you need great partners. You need partnerships with universities, with scientific institutes, with customers, with suppliers, even with competitors. That was something what was coming later on quite intensively that we said, and as we found out, for innovation, like also marketing, HR, these are always the departments in the huge corporate. There never is enough money available. So you always have to fight for your budgets and for your resources. And therefore we open it up then directly and to find right partners. And then you have a different kind of ecosystem approach when you're dealing with different companies and always using the budget that all of them are having, bring that together and then do something together with an intercompany approach. That was something we still looked more into the future. And now it's coming more, what can we do now? How is innovation really helping us today already? Because customers are demanding even more for being prepared for all the disruptions that are out there, being prepared for new opportunities. And customers are really asking us, they want to start corporations, partnerships with us, a logistics service provider. And therefore, of course, they also look into the future about trends, new technologies, and what's going on in the market, but they want to make it as tangible, as interactive as possible by using this kind of new topics directly today. Because it's more changing into a kind of a consultancy along the supply chain. What can we do? So where are some hurdles, some problems in our daily business? And how do certain topics help us to be even better thereby tomorrow and not the day after already? So the time frame has changed a little bit. Of course, trends and foresights are still valid and relevant, but now the customers are breaking it down, and we also breaking it down more to what's in it for us, what's the value by here and now and today. So that was a little bit the change, going from a wider approach and let's say more into the future, into more narrowed down topic, what can we integrate directly into departments, supply chains, and the customer interaction.
That sounds quite strategic, but when I think of the mindset or in the other direction, I'm wondering, what kind of role did creativity play in here? Or did it play any role from the beginning on? Did you consider it as relevant during the entire process? Or how did you handle these topics?
Good one. Yes, creativity, I think, is a major activity of the innovation department at all. I would say in the beginning, it was more trying to use as less resources as possible for the greatest PowerPoint slides you've ever seen. And so that was more or less to be really, really there, bringing trends in a proper way to the border, to the customer. But then that's in the first step. I think not everybody within an organization understands why do we have an innovation department, because of course everybody was thinking, of course I'm an innovative guy and I can take things also further. I also have crazy ideas. But I think when you're establishing a corporate innovation department, then you have to interact with the whole organization, and also taking them further, trying to be the single point of contact for all crazy ideas, demands, issues, opportunities, and helping them to take that up and to make it transparent if somebody has developed something already, that we do not reinvent the wheel somewhere. But back to your question, I think the status of an innovation department in the beginning is more, there are some youngsters with the beginning of 20s and they're playing with crazy things. And sometimes people are a little bit, they don't really respect what you're doing in the beginning. So it's really showing them that there is a value, helping them. That's not only, let's say, some youngsters who are doing crazy things or playing MacGyver or whatever kind of activities. No, there are values for the organization. Makes us better, greater, faster, whatever, more different than our competitors, and that is something what you have to show even to all the stakeholders internally, and yeah.
And do you deliberately ask yourself, how could you foster creativity in the people of the whole DB Schenker organization? Or do you ask yourself those questions or address this in a way? Because I think in the end, you're talking a lot about, okay, there's this innovation department where the innovation is happening, but how do you incorporate the rest of the organization and their potential ideas and their creativity? Do you harness that in a way? And do you also like educate them in being like more creative? Or do you also probably consider addressing the culture as measure to harness more creativity, those things. Is that something you also do?
We developed together with our HR department, or P&O, how they named now, design thinking approaches, design thinking trainings. We also integrate us in several, let's say, education programs within DB Schenker, so that we're training trainees, that we're training apprentices, also interns, to really get into this mood. What is design thinking? So we really establish a short overview about that. We also have we call it open innovation call. That's once a month, where we're presenting new topics, new startups, new technologies, crazy things from the company, and inviting everybody to be a part of that.
But just internally, or is it also with the
This open innovation call is also only internally so far. Mm-hmm. So we're really doing this internally, and we have around 300-400 people who are joining that then every single month, and being really aware what's going on at Schenker. So I think some people also dialing in just to have a half an hour English lesson. But nevertheless, side effect is that they're also learning about new developments within our company. And that is always then interesting. And I think one major topic, what we have done, or maybe two things what we have done. One is we have so-called a Global Orientation Day. That's for all new employees at Schenker once a month. So they're all coming together in the virtual setup. So you have every month 50, 60, 70 people who are recently joined Schenker, and they're getting a full package of what is Schenker. So land transport, air ocean, contract logistic, IT, and so far, and innovation. So we are directly briefing these new colleagues directly from the beginning that we do have an innovation department. What is our innovation approach? How do we tackle the things? If you ever need PowerPoint slides, movies, support for your customers, just reach out to us. And even if you ever have a crazy idea, just feel free to reach out. And if you want to be even more involved in these activities, then we have our innovation lab where we can bring things in. We can be mentoring for startups and offering that, so being really more engaged with startups. And also doing trainings, being a part of we have an innovation community here as well, where we really bringing people together to explore and exchange new topics. And that is, I think, something where we are being a part even more of the DNA of our company. And I'm always telling my employees that we are doing a fantastic, crazy, good job, when in the end, we as a department are not needed any longer, because then the whole company is working, acting, and thinking like we do already.
Mm. And I think when you talk to people, and I think that's what you probably also heard, and what we hear like every single day, I guess, that, okay, that's probably innovation theater. You do a lot of things, but what's the thing that comes out in the end? Do you have any success story to share with us? So something that probably the people out there know, that is a new service, something that is available. I don't know if that's the case, but do you have anything in mind that you can showcase that this is something that came out of your innovation endeavor and everything you put into that? So something like a success story, because that's something we always struggle with. Hey, you do a lot of things, and especially if it comes to creativity, I mean, that's probably the most important part of the very first and foremost first steps of exploring something. But in that moment, when you are most creative, you never have this outcome already done, right? And especially if it's a very complex product on our side at Siemens, with like hardware, software, whatever, that takes probably years until it really showcases on the market or something that really has an impact. So this is always the challenge. Do you have a success story or anything you would tell the people out there that's something how you could measure or convince the people that this effort you put into innovation and creativity is worthwhile?
Mm-hmm. There are several topics. Of course, innovation theater is sometimes a part of it, because sometimes you need a wide range of topics to inspire people, and then trying to narrow down, okay, what kind of topics are relevant, interesting, and really bring a value to the organization. What we have developed is some sensoric things, sensoric stuff for temperature control, humidity control, so for really healthcare products that you can ship around the globe and then measuring the temperature and humidity. So these are things, so sensor, now we call it IoT, that we're really getting all this information together. Then we installed volume scan gates in our warehouses and terminals, so that when we are bringing the shipment from the swap body into the container, there we are then scanning directly the volume and also measuring the weight. That's something what we need in the supply chain. That's not that we are developing the technology, so we are finding the right partners, the right startups, the right supplier, and really integrate it into the supply chain.
Okay,
also
nice.
topics like electromobility, something what we have started 8-9 years ago. And at that time, no one in our organization was believing that makes sense. We started the first R&D projects, the first pilot projects to really get an understanding. Is electromobility a topic where we have to care with? And today, we would have loved to have even more resources in 10 years ago spending into this topic, because now we are desperately trying to get even more electromobility and green alternatives on the track. But that's something what we also have done already some years ago. Then we have several smaller integrations also of startups like What Free Birds. I don't know if you know them. So they put the grid around the globe and considering out of squares, and every square is 3 meter and has exactly 3 words. And so Smiling Always Seating is, for example, the entrance door of our headquarters in Essen, because we need addresses as a logistic company. Where's the gate? Where's the parking slot? Where to meet for the other truck? And that is something where we integrate. We find these topics, we evaluate the topics, find the right setup, how to bring that into our organization. We pilot that, and then we hand it over. And maybe one very prominent, maybe last thing here, what we also have done 2 years ago, we invested into a startup company, Volocopter. I don't know if you know them. That's a flying taxi, but also a heavy lifted cargo drone. And that is something where we found the startup. We have done the first, interaction with the startup. We helped them with logistics services, and later on, we also invested into this startup because they were developing this heavy lifted cargo drone, and now it's on us how to integrate such a future-oriented technology into our supply chain operations. That is something we are having to do. So it's always, but we also rejected several hundreds of topics, and I think that's also quite important to find things that makes no sense, maybe for now. And that is, I think, also one major thing of an innovation department to really, because should everybody within the organization take care about Hyperloop technology, for example? Maybe not. So 78,000 experts on Hyperloop maybe would not make sense for now. But somebody within the organization should have the knowledge when that technology is ready or interesting enough that we should take care. And that's then always with us to being the single point of contact to bundle all of these things, to evaluate when does it make sense. And therefore also technologies like 3D printing, we found 7-8 years ago already. It's already from longer available, but for logistics industry, we now have really an own service. So we now can really do that for our customers. We can scan their products and spare parts already in the warehouse, what kind of products are already printable, and we take it out of the shelf and we print it on demand locally. So it's a green thing. It's a more sustainable thing. It's a plan B when supply chains are completely disrupted. And that is a new topic that we also have started within my department.
Nice. How many people are working in that innovation field right now?
Hundreds. No, we are only 11.
That would be my guess. Sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah.
No. We are 11 people directly in the department, but we're also a big fan of, we call it always our young innovations. So these are interns, trainees, working students. And that is, let's say, that the core team on a global scale. What is even more important and also interesting is we have an innovation community. These are so-called our innovation ambassadors, because they really like to take the topic into the organization, to the customers, into the regions, into the countries. And that is even more important. And we don't care about hierarchy. So we have here from managing directors until to, let's say, very normal people from everywhere. And that's quite cool because it's not about hierarchy. It's about the right mindset and about the right openness to take things further. Because when you only think in silos and it's only my, and I don't share, then you're not the right person for an innovation ambassador approach.
Okay. Do you have a specific approach to screen those people, or how do you choose those? Or is it like any ways just open for everybody? Or
it's from the theory open for everybody. Mostly they're applying by themselves. And that's always quite cool that they want to be a part of the community. Then I'm always bringing back, please check with your boss that you're allowed to spend some minutes. It's not hours or ages within our community, just that your boss also know what you're doing there. Because we will involve you about all the activities that we are doing. We are sharing monthly reports. We are sharing crazy new startups that we thought and want to have some feedback. But please always, when we are sharing, please use it as a kind of a multiplication also for your networks. Share it and be the person in your network to get also crazy ideas or demands or challenges that we can take it into the community. So really be a spokesperson in between. And also tell us a little bit about your private life. So also what you have done here at the beginning with me. So sharing some crazy insights. We also want to learn a little bit from our innovation ambassadors, what is driving them, and what they are missing within the company, and what kind of crazy hobbies do they have. So small things. But that's...
So are crazy hobbies good, or should they not be too crazy?
As crazy as possible. I always like that.
That's good.
It's always interesting what people are doing in the private and free time. And it's also if they're doing more team sports, more individual topics, and sky jumping like what I have done. So what kind of adventurous style do they like? And there's also about of diversity, because we're really trying to find people, even when they're doing more or less the similar things, but when they're having a completely different background, with a different CV, with different languages, different cultures, then you will find out completely different ideas or topics in the end. So therefore, I really like diversity, and I was telling the people as well, I will never hire a person that I'm having already within the team, because that person's already there. So we need somebody new with a new skill set, with a new history, with whatever, and that really brings creativity further.
And what kind of people are in your team then? If you're saying that they're like very diverse, do you have any like interesting, totally different backgrounds, like a former priest?
I would love to, but there was no application so far. But I would really think about it when somebody is applying. But I think I have in the team only 1 or 2 logistic people. So really from the rest is engineers, political topics, business administration, of course. But there's also what kind of topics we have from culture-wise. We have from Poland, we have from Russia, we have sometimes from India, from Mexico. So also with our interns, we always try to get different nations into the team. And so from the job profile, I would say even more diversity is possible. But we also have people who have done a consultancy before, or had their own business, and failed, worked in a startup somewhere. So these kind of topics always are interesting for us. And what I really like when somebody maybe also failed with a bigger approach. So when they had their own company and when they fail, but also when they are successful and then applying for us, also interesting. Yeah. But when they really learn out of these topics.
Interesting. And you said the whole endeavor for innovation at DB Schenker started with a customer survey where they said, hey, we don't perceive DB Schenker as very innovative and stuff like that. So did you do another survey pretty recently and ask the people again, and did something change there? So did you prove your success, so to speak?
Very good question. We are proving that every second year in our customer survey. It's getting better, and you really see then the possibility what customers are expecting, but also seeing and getting from us. So there is a change. And there's a Gartner ranking where we get every second year an evaluation how innovative we are seen from the market. Mm-hmm. And that's also, I would say, quite good. Always room for improvement. And sometimes you question yourself, why the heck are we there and not there? Because there are so great examples for being even more up or whatever. But customers' interaction or let's say the customer feedback is quite good. Still, there are many, many customers who has no clue that we are working on innovation and future-oriented topics. Therefore, it's also about sharing, telling also the customers. And what we have done, and as maybe one good example is we are generating innovation magazines. Mm-hmm. That's an innovation magazine we started internally, and that was quite interesting just to collect stories from the whole organization. What was somewhere who has developed something very great, and then we're really bringing people on the stage. So we have done very, I would say, design-wise, very cool design. So, and then we're collecting stories, technologies, pilot projects, initiatives from the whole organization. And we always saying that was from Stefan Müller, that was from Susie, whatever. So on every single page you see, okay, that's the person who's responsible for that topic. So we're really promoting people, promoting colleagues. And the funny part is when we started in 16 with this innovation magazines on a global scale, we wrote on every single page for internal use only. So that was our future insight, so our innovation magazine. And on the last page was, do we also have a great story? Then please send it over just on innovation@dbschenker.com. If you have something to share, if you want to be a part of the distribution list, just reach out to us. And after the second or the third edition, and we have done it 4 times a year, we got emails from plenty of our customers who all want to be a part of this distribution list. They said, okay, for internal use only, for internal use. So, but what have our salespeople, what have they done? So they said, yeah, here, dear customer, it's for internal use, but only for you. I have something special, new, latest trends and updates from our company, here, only for you. So that was then the reason why we decided, okay, every second edition is now also the best of. It's then also an external edition. That's our innovation insight. So it's same stuff, same topics in a little bit different style from the wording and without the name who's responsible, but that the salespeople can use it as well for the customer. And we have some regions and some countries who are taking this innovation magazine as an attachment to every single RFQ. So when they're answering something, what the customer is demanding for a tender or RFQ, they're using that as an attachment. So here are the answers and the prices and tariffs, and we can do even more. Here's our latest innovation magazine.
That's a very creative hack for all our listeners. So if you want to have the people share your insight with all the customers, add for internal use only as a disclaimer to your work. But speaking about creative hacks, what is your most creative creation, your most creative success probably? Anything that pops in your mind which is like really showcasing that you as a person, Erik, you're very, very creative one?
I would say my wedding was quite a creative one, but...
Okay, tell us more. Your wedding.
Yeah, I would say my wedding. So my wife is working in the marketing department, so you would imagine that there's a lot of creativity, but my wife is more following a corporate design style guide, so it's more strict and please follow the style guide. And
we are also used to that on our side. Yes. Okay.
So that's always crazy because people always believe that the most creative people are in the marketing department, but probably not. So, and my wedding party, so my surname is Wirsing, and that's by the way in English is Savoy. That sounds quite attractive. But, and my wife is from the North Sea. So, and then there are lighthouses, and then we have done a whole setup with Wirsing, so with this vegetable, and with lighthouses, and it was really all green. So our wedding cake was a lighthouse, so a special cake, and that was also a small present for all our guests. We had a special dance, of course. We had a special opening dance.
But not a break dance.
A boogie. We started with a waltzer, moved over to a boogie, and ended up in the waltzer again.
Cool. That's so cool.
That was quite cool, I would say. Yeah. And we really love to brainstorm and using them. Also, when we had no kids in that time when we married, and we sat in a smaller vineyard and drinking a glass of wine, and then we started to brainstorm and doing some crazy mind maps. We always had one special book with us and brainstormed, okay, what can we do next? What else can we offer? What's about the light? What's about the cake? What's about the presents for the people? What's about the table design? And yeah, you really can do crazy things for your wedding, and that was something what I really enjoyed.
And did your wife check always with a CI and the guidelines, the communication guidelines, that everything's aligned, or did she prove you wrong and she's still a very creative person?
Oh, we had a clear. We developed our own style guideline for wedding.
Yeah. Wedding style guide.
Own color coding and style guide also from the font of everything what we are writing. And plenty of pictures and whatever was there. So that was really a great day, an amazing, memorable.
Great.
Event.
Sounds creative.
I think it's now time to test your creativity.
Challenge time.
Challenge time. Map, map. Map, map.
Map, map. Map, map. Challenge time.
So, dear Erik, we have a challenge for you as for any other guest as well, so you're not the only one. We would like to test your creativity. No, actually, it's just a fun exercise we can also do a little bit together. Actually, this one we can't do together. It's not true because we picked another challenge for you. So it's actually quite simple. I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and maybe you have a piece of paper and a pen at hand to write down the answers. I mean, maybe you can also keep it in mind, but it would be maybe easier to write it down very quickly. And with these 4 answers, you can create your very own creative story.
Let's see.
Whatever comes in mind, just combine those 4 and tell us a great story, us and our dear listeners. So the first question is, before our podcast, you told us that your superpower would be to be a shapeshifter. So what kind of shape would you take on?
Who?
You can tell us what it is, and then we move on to the next one.
What kind of shape would I use? I would say somehow maybe a celebrity. So really going there and maybe one day in the shoes of a celebrity might be interesting. Not for the rest of my life, but just seeing it from the inside.
Is there a specific celebrity you have in mind? Maybe you could write down, or
Olaf Scholz.
the first one that comes in mind.
My goodness, now I'm on Olaf Scholz. So hopefully
Britney Spears.
I really have to think about it. A celebrity that where I wanted to see what's good one. So
you could also leave it open. Let's just say it's a celebrity. Maybe something else comes in mind. Second question. At what place have you never been but belongs to one of your dream destinations?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
I've never been there so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to be there.
Have you planned it already?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet. But when I'm telling my wife, let's go, then she's already booking our stuff.
Okay, New Zealand. Then third question, what would you take on a lonely island?
My family. Good drinks, good food.
Let's just take one thing. So your family.
Then I would go for my wife.
Okay. Last question. What activity would you automate? It could be in your daily life or in logistics industry, whatever you like, today. If you could do it right now, at this moment, you could automate it, what would it be?
Driving.
Okay.
Autonomous driving. Really looking forward to that. I drove enough kilometers in my life.
I think it's still a bit scary, but I'm also curious about it. Okay, so let's review that. So the first one was celebrity. The second one was New Zealand. Then it was your wife, and lastly, autonomous driving or driving. Now you can create a story around that. Toby, is there anything missing?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I would go back to the shape-shifting part. I would really shape-shift myself into being the pilot of an air zeppelin. So of a zeppelin.
Okay. Yeah, you include those 4 different words and put it in a creative story and try to also tell it in a very emotional or enthusiastic way if you like to. And you can take your time, just 1-2 minutes if you like. No pressure.
No, all fine. I would really start with, so let's have a look into the future. So what might be my future plans and what I really look forward to see, explore, and what I really would love to imagine, because there are crazy things out there. Many, many new technologies are coming, and it's all about us to make them as tangible and as positive for the whole society as possible. Therefore, one thing that I'm really looking forward in the future is autonomous driving, because when I would take an autonomous car already, sitting with my car, with my wife then in the car, and then taking care about our kids, whatever, so that you can really spend the time that you're normally driving for hours, maybe you're driving to your vacation or holiday place, to really enjoy this ride already by doing completely different things. And therefore, I would really love to have autonomous driving already today for family purpose, but also business-wise, a crazy thing. When you think a little bit further about automatization, autonomization, I would really go for new technologies as well, because I believe that Zeppelins are really coming back. They will have maybe an impact because we all are in sustainability. We all love this being more green and CO2 neutral. And I would say Zeppelins being a really cool thing for the future. There are already 2-3 companies out there working on these topics. So what I would really love to be picked up at my home with an autonomous car with my wife and the kids, driving somewhere where the next Zeppelin is starting, using the Zeppelin, really exploring countryside everywhere. And of course, when I would love to be in a country where I've never been before, then I would go for New Zealand, because it's really a green countryside, a lot of things to see, not that many dangerous animals. So for the kids as well, a perfect place to be. And I would imagine that exploring New Zealand from a Zeppelin, so from an airship, that must be awesome. And yeah, I would say that's a really cool setup that I could imagine, and that might be really somehow a dream for the future.
Yay!
I think you would like to join, right, DB?
I would love to join that. Super cool. Hopefully that really comes true someday.
Zeppelins are coming back. I truly believe that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe we talk about that at another point of time.
When I hear about Zeppelin, I always have to think about Led Zeppelin, the band.
That's another one. And also something that people directly have in their mind is the Hindenburg. So there's a big accident, but now the technology is on a different base, and it's absolutely more secure. But I would say we, in our lifetime, we will see that. And there's a French company, an American company, and a company from the UK. They are doing already crowdfunding to really get the money. And I would really love to do that. You can do that in Friedrichshafen. There is already a Zeppelin, a big one, but I think it costs around €500 if you want to have a small ride. So it's not that cheap. But technology is there. And it's also fitting our sustainability approach as well.
Yeah, but kind of a competitor of Volocopter, right? Probably?
Yeah, no, because I would say...
You have to say that now.
No, I would also say yes when it is, but Volocopter is more, let's say, individual transportation, 2, 3, 4 people, and also from the weight, when we're talking about cargo, around 200 kilogram, 400 kilogram. When we're talking about Zeppelin in the big version, here we're talking about hundreds of people at the same time, flying 5,000 kilometers, so above the ocean, and really bringing up to 200 ton. So that's a completely different weight, different distances. So this flying taxi part is mostly short distances, smaller weight, less people, and therefore it's not a competition for Volocopter. But of course, using the same infrastructure in the air.
Okay, I'm convinced. I will join the ride. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Erik will pick us up soon in the future with his own Zeppelin, taking us from A to B. That's going to be a hell of a ride. But I think I would like to learn a little bit more about, of course, innovation creativity at DB Schenker. And coming back, I mean, I tried to integrate that already, this topic of creativity. You already mentioned a lot of things you're doing there in this environment with your innovation team. But do you also see any blockers for creativity? Anything that hinders the people or the organization to really be creative, go new path? Because you described creativity as the thing, or an ability to try out new things or go in different pathways and do things differently. What are the main blockers or hindering things that you have to get out of the way in order to really be creative and get new things up and running? Anything in your mind regarding that?
I would say in the first step, it's time, and also having the freedom to really think about new topics and new ways, and really thinking outside of your own environment and maybe outside of your own box. So time is one thing, and of course, frustration will also be high when then somebody is destroying all your good ideas in the end and doing this on a frequent basis. So when you're always bringing new ideas and say, no, that makes no sense. No, that makes no sense. We don't want it. That doesn't fit to our current business model. Please go away with that. So when people are, let's say, always getting a no for their ideas, and when they are not, and nobody's really listening to them and taking it seriously, what they are bringing up, then there will also be a blocker for further new ideas. So giving people the freedom, the possibility to be creative, and I truly believe everybody can be creative and is creative. Sometimes you don't call it like that because you're just finding different ways to do something. That's then also creativity. But in the business context, creativity is sometimes not supported because people from the theory are hired for a certain topic and they should please do that. And that's then always hindering us when there is no freedom for them to think left and right. And that is the biggest issue. And don't take it seriously, I think, is also then for a long time creativity a topic where people are bringing up an idea once, maybe twice, but then they will never come back with another idea or creative topic.
So what would you actually recommend those people? Let's say we have many listeners that are exactly concerned with these kind of hurdles within their organizations. What would you recommend them to do or to overcome those challenges?
Find ways and maybe departments or people, so go to departments where they can bring their ideas. Because sometimes even their boss might not be the biggest fan of whatever, but really trying to find channels, a single point of contacts where they can bring the ideas, where somebody is listening and taking it seriously, understanding, and also giving them the feedback. Because I have the feeling that also when people are getting a no, but when you're explaining the no, why it is a no and why we can't take that further, they are not frustrated. They will just bring the next idea. But when you just tell them no and go away, please, then it's the hardest thing. Of course, it costs a little bit of time and resources to think about what a person is bringing to you. But it's a normal, I would say, leadership style that all of us should do. And when you don't have the time by yourself, find a way, a methodology, how to do not destroy the idea too fast. So you really have to find a way to listen to your employees. And for the employees, they should not be afraid to bring up new ideas. Just do it. And if your boss doesn't have the time, then ask for time. Maybe in a half-year feedback conversation, in a 1-year feedback conversation, when you're having the time with your bosses and with your teammates, bring it up there. But the worst case for creativity is when creativity is not be told and nobody is listening to that and nobody is seeing that you have developed an idea or something new. Because creativity also lives from sharing.
So be more brave and share what is on your mind, what is in your head.
Yeah, or in the end, publish it somewhere. So there's also like this innovation magazines where we are publishing latest updates, crazy cool things. That's also a creative way to deal with so many information because we all have information overload. And to really narrow it down to the most important things, then find a channel where you can promote your creative thoughts.
I think the Innovation Magazine is a really nice thing because of two things. On the one side, it's a great appreciation for the people working on those projects because they get visibility somehow in the organization and the kind of appreciation for what they're working on. And on the other side, you bring awareness into the organization about what is going on, what are trends currently, what are projects that your colleagues are working on. And I think that's actually a quite cool thing maybe some people are inspired by. What you also mentioned earlier was that you have an innovation lab. Maybe you could say a few more words on that. Is it something also like a physical lab, or is it just a lab where you bring your community together in a virtual world, or how can we imagine the innovation lab?
It's a physical one, so really it's a building, but it's not our building. It's a joint cooperation with a scientific institute, with the Fraunhofer IML. So IML means for Institute for Material Flow and Logistics. That's in Dortmund. So on the western part of Germany. So really it's a physical building, but everybody from the whole organization is able to join it with a topic, with a demand. So we always bringing topics to our lab. And as I said, joint cooperation with really scientific people. When there is no supplier out there who's tackling a problem and there is no startup beyond that story already, then we bring it to the lab and develop the things with our scientific people on our own. So and here in the lab, we are having topics like AI, like blockchain, like VR, AR, 3D printing, packaging development, sensoric things, high-speed HEVs, flying drones. So everything that brings logistics into the future, that is something what we are exploring there. We're always trying to find out, is there something in it for us or not? Do we find an IT setup and development to really make it happen? So we don't implement it there, we don't scale it there, but we're trying to understand, is it possible or not? And if yes, how? Then to hand it over later on then to our business units and functional units. And what we also do in this lab, because as I said, it's a physical one, we also bring customer to the lab and to really show them what's the logistics of the future, what kind of topics we and also Fraunhofer are working on to inspire them, and also to starting with them together, maybe corporations on a certain topic, because it could also be that the customer is having a special demand for a special issue and in his supply chain, and then using really Fraunhofer, Schenker, and the customer as a joint corporation, because it's all about cooperation, partnerships to really make that happen. So therefore, it's a great thing for exploring new things. And what we also do there already now is that we are educating own Schenker people to become their own PhD. So you can also do your own PhD in this lab. So it's a combination.
That's cool. And do you think, or why do you think these physical labs are so valuable or so important to have when it comes to innovation? And why is it so important maybe also to have in terms of creativity? So do you have an experience how it really sparked the creativity of people in there?
We are all human beings, and we all know how to handle virtual setups and virtual environments, and we all know how to do it. But in the end, you want to grab something. You want to get a feeling. And being in the room with people is sometimes more and easier. So creativity happens sometimes easier when people are together, when you're really taking the sticky notes, when you can stand up and you have different ways of walking around, exploring things, have it in your hand, and really seeing and also prototyping maybe with Lego setups, some topics. So that helps. Of course, we all learned now over the last 2.5, 3 years that virtual setups always are also possible. But I still believe that physical creativity in such a creativity workshop is sometimes more productive than in a virtual setup. So therefore, I think also these physical setups, of course, we can't build up such a physical lab in every single country. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we also have to bring from the other countries people virtually into that. But then we have a kind of a hybrid system with physical and digital in the same setup.
Okay, nice. But I just came across this sentence, labs only last 6 years.
That's interesting. I had a former colleague in my team, and she's done her PhD exactly on this topic. And she found out that this kind of internal innovation labs, that let's say the lifetime of such a lab is maximum around 6 years. And of course, in our lab, we are now already in the 7th year. So we already scaled it up and now working already in the 7 years. But I think you need somehow a continuity. So you need somebody who's driving that. So I'm there since the first day. So I'm a part of this innovation approach and this lab approach since 7 years already. Board members are changing, managing directors are changing, strategies are changing. And to convince your board that you need a budget and resources every single year for these topics, that's the reason why sometimes when strategies are changing, people are stopping these kind of activities. And we reinvented our lab. Also, every second year, we're trying to find a new spin and a new direction, also starting with more wider things, using the resources for as many things as possible at the same time. And later on, we decided, no, let's spend more resources on certain topics that only have 2-3 things in parallel, or maybe 4, but make them as concrete as possible to bring it as fast as possible into the organization. And that is then also something where we can really show traction, where we can show results out of that. And of course, with this, finding the way to involve customers, because then the salespeople are loving that, to show their customers something new. That was also one of the success factors.
Okay, so a PhD student out of your group found out that labs only last 6 years, typically, and you're now trying to prove her wrong with your lab, right?
Yeah, she has left my department already.
I don't ask if she did that voluntarily or was she forced?
No.
Nice. Okay. I think that's already a kind of a nice wrap on that topic. So we talked a lot about innovation in general. What's the hint towards the direction of DB Schenker? What are the little success stories from your side? We touched upon how you integrate the whole group of people all around the DB Schenker group, not only focusing on the people in your team and all those different things. And we tested kind of your creativity, and you proved to us already that you're kind of a very creative guy. I'm very sad that I missed your wedding, actually.
Me too.
I'm not able to say that. Hopefully, there will be another chance. I don't hope that. But anyways,
the Zeppelin is still there, so we want to be part of this.
True thing. So we still have the chance to join you once you get your Zeppelin ready. But having a wrap around our discussion, what's the thing you probably take away for yourself, and what's the key takeaway probably for the listeners from your perspective, Erik?
Good one.
Big question. I know.
Yeah, it's big. So I would say it's all about, let's say the headline was creativity. When do we see creativity as creativity? What is it all about, and how do we tackle that? And again, maybe back to your very, very first question, what's creativity for me? I think it's about open mindset, curiosity, and really don't write too many things. Don't think about that much. Just start with something, and then find out on the way in which direction you're ending up. And I think creativity is about doing things. Mm-hmm. Do not listen that much, and just trying to find out your own style, your own way, and sharing this with other people, because with as diverse and as different kind of people, when you're involving them for your idea, it will be a different one in the end, and maybe an even better one. And therefore, I think really creativity happens when the right people with the right mindsets, having the freedom to exchange, to explore, to being curious. It's not a question of money. It's not a question of resources. It's more the question of mindset and freedom. And then really cool things could happen.
And staying hungry for innovation.
And of course, hungry for innovation is then always our hashtag and our claim, because I think this kind of hunger and this kind of seeing always what's next, what else can we do, what else can we explore. And it's nevertheless, I'm from my heart want to be a part of everything around the globe, of everything what's happening there. Of course, not possible. So therefore, finding the right focus, finding the right setup, also linking that to your setup of your company, to your customers and your behavior. That's very much important, because you can also read and talk about things the whole day that makes absolutely no sense for your company at all. And that is also not good, because in the end, it should bring you value for whom you're paid for. But also in your private life, creativity is about also friendship. It's also about with your family. And I think when you're having kids, then of course you have to show a lot of creativity to entertain them the whole day. And I think the easiest way to being creative is telling your kids, this weekend, no TV, no tablet, no screen. Then you really have to think about, okay, what can we do? And then creativity has to happen soon.
Okay, that's the challenge for our listeners. Test that with your kids and let us know what's the result of that. But it's a wrap. Thank you very much, Erik. I really enjoyed this ride and this discussion. I learned a lot, and hopefully you guys out listening as well. Anything to add, or actually your famous last words, Bibi?
Thanks a lot, and would love to hear from you also regarding the provoking hypothesis that we had at the beginning, or anything else that we mentioned here. Thank you very much, Erik. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to the Zeppelin, and yeah, hoping we'll see each other soon or hear each other soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.